She was screaming into her phone, "Break in armed suspect, destroying historic property," and I froze. I was standing there, holding my own house keys, while this woman live-streamed me like I was a terrorist. 10 minutes later, red and blue lights filled the trees, SWAT boots crunching gravel, and I realized I wasn't just losing my peace, I was about to lose my grandfather's century-old cabin. 3 months earlier, I'd been driving back and forth from Chicago, sorting out probate paperwork after Grandpa passed. The cabin in Pine Valley had always been my refuge, a place built with his own hands back in 1920. I thought coming home would bring closure. Instead, I got Catherine Thompson. Early 50s, perfect salon hair, a polo with HOA president stitched in gold and the kind of smile that says she's been in charge too long. When I pulled into my own driveway, she was already filming. "Sir, please stay calm while we sort this out," the SWAT captain said. Catherine chimed in immediately. "Officer, this individual is attempting to break into our community heritage center." Heritage Center. It was my house. I pulled out the manila folder, death certificate, probate approval deed with my name. Everything was stamped, sealed, and filed. The officer checked each page, then asked Catherine for her proof. For 3 glorious seconds she froze, then lifted her phone. "The paperwork is being processed through appropriate channels." I almost laughed. She'd called the cops on a guy opening his own door, and now she was improvising ownership paperwork. When they finally cleared me, they still left yellow tape across my porch for safety. Catherine kept streaming, telling her audience, over 1,000 viewers, that she'd saved a historical landmark from a criminal. I sat on the porch stairs Grandpa built in the 40s, watching her narrate my life like a reality show villain. I'd driven 12 hours home and somehow became the neighborhood's most dangerous man. Next morning, there it was, an envelope taped to my windshield. "Emergency structural violation." Big red letters. The report claimed my cabin was collapsing, a danger to the community. The photos showed cracks, splintered beams, fresh mortar. I walked the property myself. The damage was new clean cuts, bright scrape lines, still wet cement. Someone had staged it overnight. Someone had sabotaged my home. By noon, the driveway looked like a museum exhibit. Catherine had erected signs reading "Pine Valley Heritage Preservation Project," complete with brochures and volunteers in matching shirts. It was absurdly professional pop-up tents, folding tables, and fake government logos. Neighbors stopped by to tour the exhibit. Catherine smiled like a celebrity. That's when I heard her whisper behind one of the booths, "Harold, I told you this project will succeed. My reputation depends on it." Reputation. Investment. Suddenly, this wasn't about community pride. It was about money. I spent that afternoon photographing every nail, every patch of wet mortar. I needed evidence before she used this violation to push demolition. The next morning, I drove to the county records office, a beige brick box from the 70s that smelled like dust and bureaucracy. The clerk looked at my paperwork and sighed. "You must be here about the Turner cabin," she said. "Mrs. Thompson's been in 4 times this month. She even offered me $500 to correct the ownership record to community property." Fraud. Straight up fraud. The clerk showed me the files, every deed, every tax record unbroken, Turner ownership for over a century. Then she handed me an invoice that froze me cold. Heritage Preservation Consulting Services billed by the HOA on the exact date Catherine claimed to have discovered the structural emergency. It had been paid hours before the inspection even happened, and the address a mailbox rental downtown. Fake company, fake crisis, real money. That's when Tommy Wilson found me in the parking lot. He'd worked with my grandfather for decades. "Your granddad never donated that cabin," he said. "He wanted it to stay in your family forever." Tommy showed me maintenance reports, inspection records, all clean, no damage, no risk. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "Catherine's been doing this to others. The Hendersons, the Pattersons, anyone too old or too tired to fight back." This wasn't one crazy woman. It was a pattern. I wish I could say I went straight to the police, but for a few days I just shut down. Every contract client I had called to cancel, all using the same phrasing. We've been advised you're involved in community disputes. Someone was targeting my income. My mortgage company called about unclear property status. Insurance followed, questioning my coverage. Every direction I turned, I found another trap Catherine had set. I sat on those porch steps again, head in my hands, thinking maybe she was right, maybe I should just walk away. I'd lost my wife last year, lost my peace, and now my grandfather's house was being stripped from me piece by piece. Maybe it's not worth it, I said out loud to no one. Then Rebecca Wilson showed up. HOA treasurer, calm professional tired of being quiet. She handed me a flash drive. Financial ledgers, she said. Catherine's been moving money without authorization, almost $20,000. If we don't stop her, this becomes our legacy too. That was the moment I snapped out of it. I wasn't fighting just for me anymore. I was fighting for the people she'd bullied into silence. Over the next week, Rebecca, Tommy, and I built a wall of evidence: fake invoices, forged licenses, missing HOA votes. Metadata from Catherine's inspection photos proved they were taken before the alleged damage. We had her cornered. But she wasn't slowing down. She announced a Heritage Preservation Festival at the town center, a celebration of community values funded, of course, with HOA money. Saturday came bright and loud. Food trucks, banners, live bluegrass families everywhere. Catherine took the stage in her polished navy blazer mic in hand. Today, she declared, we honor those who protect Pine Valley's history against greed and destruction. The crowd applauded. Behind her on a giant screen were pictures of my cabin labeled Site of Historic Preservation. My name wasn't mentioned, my existence erased. And then a voice from the crowd, Mrs. Thompson. It was Sheriff Miller, stepping up with a folder. I have a court-ordered cease and desist. All activities regarding disputed property are to stop immediately. Catherine froze, then panic. You don't understand what's at stake, she screamed, grabbing the mic. This community depends on me. She backed away, the cord tangled around her feet. When she jerked the mic again, it snapped, sending her stumbling straight into the cake table. The crash was spectacular, frosting everywhere. The once perfect president now looked like a clown at the world's saddest birthday party. The sheriff lifted one of her official letters. Ma'am, he said, this seal was discontinued 2 years ago. These documents are forged. The words rippled through the crowd. Parents pulled their kids close. Vendors started packing. Someone shouted, "You lied to us." Another yelled, "What else are you hiding?" And just like that, Catherine's empire collapsed in real time. That night, the HOA board convened under harsh fluorescent lights. Rebecca presented her audit: unauthorized spending, fake vendors, missing votes. Tommy confirmed the security company didn't exist. When the final motion came, remove Catherine Thompson from the presidency due to financial misconduct, the votes were unanimous. Catherine didn't argue. She simply took off her gold pin, set it on the table, and walked out. The door closed softly, but it sounded like an era ending. 3 weeks later, we were in county court. Catherine sat at the defendant's table, flanked by a public attorney. The prosecutor laid everything out: false emergency calls, property sabotage, document forgery, embezzled funds. Her defense tried to spin it as misguided activism. The judge wasn't buying it. Your actions, she said, represent a betrayal of community trust at the most local level. Catherine got probation, restitution, and a lifetime ban from any HOA board. Justice not cinematic, but clean. When I returned to the cabin, the sun was setting through the pines. Tommy met me at the gate with a screwdriver. Together we pried off the fake Heritage Center sign. Underneath the original hand-painted words emerged Turner Family Homestead, 1920. I ran my fingers across the weathered wood, the same surface Grandpa had carved a century ago. Catherine's lies hadn't erased history, they'd just exposed who actually cared about it. I didn't cheer, didn't gloat. I just stood there, hearing the cabin creak in the evening air, the way old houses breathe when they finally rest easy. For months, Catherine made me question my sanity, my worth, even my right to exist in the place my family built. But the truth has a strange way of surviving. Everything lies fear, even people like her. In the end, I learned something simple. Power doesn't corrupt neighborhoods, silence does.